Hi Sachin,
Hey Dinker,
how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Long time.
Yeah, I mean, we took a couple of weeks of break from last week, I guess, but there is no point in pushing content when we are not ready about it, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's the advantage of not being a professional content generator. You're not on
Yeah,
a
and that,
schedule.
and also we don't care about how many subscribers are. Not that there are a million, but I
Not that
heard,
there are thousands.
yeah, I heard there are a lot of psychological pressures people go through when they become influencer, and they experience these fluctuations into viewership or
Mhm.
certain videos performed better versus worse. It is extremely taxing on their minds, and it's not a very happy place to be. So I am glad that we are not currently there.
Yeah, I think I think we have regular 20 or 30 people, and we are happy with them because we get to interact with them and they share their thoughts with us.
I
So
think that's also good because our topic is not about gossip. It's more about niche topic. So the audience itself is needs to be resonating with that problem. So I am glad that we have 20 but 20 people who are super interested rather than a million who don't care what's happening. So
I,
that's
I thought the beer in EEBO is Bollywood, and we are here for Bollywood gossip.
yeah, engineering effectiveness, engineering excellence, and
It's
Bollywood.
very effectiveness in Bollywood movies.
I
Even
think
that's
that's
a very small topic, right? I don't know how many Bollywood movies had engineering or science as a theme. So there's not much review we can also do there.
but I recently heard that not only in uh, like abroad but globally, cinema is now extremely engineering driven. It is very, I would say, the art form is converging very much with the science. For example, Netflix. If you see Netflix now, the shows, the themes, the content, all of that sounds very algorithmic to you.
Hmm.
So if Moneyball by Brad Pitt was a very good movie and it had certain theme, they have found out in the history which movies of which genre with which theme. So this was actually done with a lead woman character. Protagonist was a male. Protagonist was an older man, and they have
Find all the
replicated
winning
all.
combos.
Yeah, they have replicated all those movies within them. So analytics plays a very important role, and that's why I think these author skills were also extremely upset, right? Because everything is data driven. They are trying to figure out movies which work. They are trying to remove the art and inject science into movies making. So
Yeah.
they are saying, I want basically a recipe for success, and let me create content which is targeting to that particular segment of the audience.
I think even without sophisticated tools, in some way, Bollywood has figured it out. There is a hero, there is a heroine, there's someone crying a lot in the second half, and in the end, everything is okay. So that's the winning formula since
Tinker, I
long.
think you have not
Let's
watched
come.
recently any movies. Basically,
No,
see the good movies
my
nowadays. Which
datedness is showing up.
yes, yes,
Like
extremely dated.
Nirupama Roy is not around anymore.
Tinker, I think we should. Yeah, she's not there anymore. And number two, you should stick to only things which you are expert at. So EBO,
Okay,
right?
let's move to EEBO Metrics.
No idea about whatever Bollywood does. So let's
Yeah,
move to the EBO one.
yeah.
That's a very unnatural and deliberate segue into EBO. So today, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, Tinker. I do not remember we have spoken about this topic in detail. It will be worth bringing that out. Like everything which is catching up or has been successful had a good origin story as well. So I always wondered, what is our origin story? I know that because I was part of it, but maybe some viewers will also benefit from it,
Yeah.
so they know why we arrived at where we are today with ego, and what that will also give them a very good understanding about what will be the future of ego and how they can participate, contribute, and communicate with us. So, um, again, what are the origins of EBO? How
Sure.
you
So,
get about?
yeah, EEBO Metrics, like good product managers that we are, and I do want to call out that in your new role, you are also a product manager. So I've been successful that way. But in like good product managers, we are. This journey did start with a set of customer problems, end user problems, and there and I was making notes, right? There were around 9 pivotal conversations that we had, which led to this. And the first one, I'll kind of present them in the chronological order rather than in some other meaningful manner, because that's how it happened.
By the way,
The first thing, uh,
I don't recall all the nine, so it's also I'm audience as well as I'm split between these two roles right now. Yeah, please
yeah,
continue.
yeah, things will come to you. The first one was that we were talking to certain executives, and they said that we're embarking on this transformation journey. We're investing in improving our engineering excellence.
Hmm.
How do we
Yeah.
know that these changes are sticking? What kind
Yeah.
of metrics can you suggest that ensure that these changes stick? And that, I think, was the first one that we had, and that one immediately followed with one that rang a lot of alarm bells with us, is that hey, once I know what those metrics are, and if any of those metrics goes bad, I know who to fire. And I think in, in the first blush, the first reaction was that, oh my god, why do people think like that? Why is this person thinking like that? That's not the right mindset. But I think a little introspection did let us to believe that if we don't give someone options on what to do when a metric goes bad, they will pick the next available option. And in a high pressure enterprise, maybe that is the next available option they had. And that led us to thinking that not only should these EBO metrics be something that are not stock tickers, are lagging, take their time, they should have a long life. And the second one kind of reminded us that not only should we talk about a metric and say that, hey, this is your metric, this is what you have to achieve, you should also have a game plan from the beginning in very cool minds, scenario, that if something starts going wrong, how are we going to work towards remediating that? Without that plan, when crisis hits, either people start blaming each other, and these kind of behaviors get exasperated. So that was our second learning from that conversation.
Yeah.
I hope these uh, conversations are coming back to you.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
absolutely.
yeah. The third one was that we were talking to someone, and he said that, hey, can you add this specific metric because I'm facing this problem, and this metric will highlight that problem. And this is very common, right? And we realize that people often confuse the operational metric with the outcome metric. Yes, you have a value stream, it has multiple steps, you need to know how things are going from one step to another, you need to identify the wastage, you need to identify the blockages, you need to improve that pipeline. But those are your operational metrics, they help you improve your value stream, those are not the outcome, right? So somewhere the pipeline that we have versus what that pipeline delivers, the pipe versus the content, people were confusing the two. And that led to the third thing, that we'll always ensure that we call them outcome metrics, we'll always highlight that, and we'll say, yes, operational metrics have their importance, but don't confuse the two. Don't
Just
judge a team
yeah,
by their.
just the exception to that rule is Dinker. Again, we have spoke about it, but sometimes the operational metric is the outcome, and in that situation, it makes sense to call them as outcome metric rather than operational metric. Example would be is for an insurance company who are processing claims. The claim processing time is an operational metric.
Yes.
What is the throughput of the claim processors and how much time they are taking. but the outcome for them is the purpose why they are commissioning certain projects is to drive the efficiencies or improve the effectiveness of how they can quickly process the claims. And in that situation, this operational metric is the outcome metric, because they, whenever there are some improvements in the process or value stream, it should be reflected that from 15 days now you are taking 13 days to process the claim, or 12 days. So there, rather than thinking of it as operational metric, think of it as an outcome metric. But in general sense, if you have set of outcomes, for example, the revenue of
Mhm.
your certain category of your merchandise, then there is no point in saying, oh, what is the order fulfillment rate at logistics side.
Right.
And that's an operational metric which neither the set of stories which you are playing may have a bearing on, or it may not directly create impact. So you are absolutely right, we should defer and create differentiation there.
Sachin, I don't think that what you called out is an exception. It's actually which team is in focus, right? For the product team, it will still be. But if you brought in a team whose sole focus is that their purpose is to improve, then for that team, yes, the outcome becomes that a 15-day process has been reduced to a 10-day process. That's the outcome they were working. And for the
Correct.
product team, yes, product team should not be judged for their outcome based on these operational things, but a team which has been brought in, maybe they're agile experts, maybe the engineering effectiveness experts, it becomes that team's outcome. So I'll not say that it's an exception. It's kind of contouring that thought process. It's
Understood.
just the team in focus changes, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. The other one was that there was a conversation with a CTO who said that all my teams are elite and high performance in Dora 4 key metrics. But I'm the CTO. I know what the reality is. How do I fix this? How do I make metrics reflect the reality rather than aspirations? And that's a very common scene. And one level below, if once we started digging in, came the realization that everyone had their own definitions. And I don't want to call out that I don't believe that anyone was doing that because they were being opportunistic, or they were trying to manage the metrics. I think the behavior there tended to be that these are the data that are available to me, and I will choose these data, right? Rather than this is the correct definition. So I should go either discover the right sources of data, or if they are not clearly being marked, let me go and create those timestamps so I can do the right calculation, right? So people were just taking what was available, and what was available at some level was also very advantageous. So that was the other learning, that different people in different contexts have different definitions in their mind. And rather than look for the right data, if that's not available, work towards making that, let's say, lead time. What is that start time? If your system doesn't have it, work towards having that. Rather than doing that, pick whatever is available, do some haphazard calculation, and that's why things go haywire. And this happens a lot. In fact, this is something that happened in one of the conversations that we were having yesterday also. The other thing that happened was very interesting, right? I was talking about this EEBO Metrics to an executive, and they said, "Hey, we have a tool that does this." And they demoed the tool to me. It was quite an impressive dashboard, very nicely done. It had like 15, 16 metrics on it. And the owner of that dashboard actually said, "We capture up to 40 metrics." Right. So in my mind, I mapped, okay, they are probably doing value stream mapping, and they're catching all these, points of transitions, and they're looking at efficiency. Sounds good. I said, this is really good. But next day, I got a message from the executive that while we have all the data, I still am not able to figure out which team is doing good, which teams need help. And at that point, I realized was that they were not looking at operational data for the purpose of improving the value stream, but they were looking at these and trying to somehow figure out the team efficiency. And whenever executives used to come, they used to pick some very operational metric and say that team A is doing better than team B because of that. And one of the reasons they had to do it at some point was because they wanted to reward the team. And this kind of highlighted the problem. One, confusing the two, and second, this habit of collecting metrics. At one time, for certain purpose, a metric was important because they were trying to look at some inefficiency and they were tracking uh, are the things we are doing to address this efficiency helping or not. And that metric is still there. It's going to be there forever now. And this backlog keeps on increasing. And one of the things that we have started doing is measure the cost of tracking a metric. And that kind of tells people that every time they add a metric, it has a cost and it's a recurring cost, right?
Yeah.
So that was one thing where there was a deluge of metric, and to the point that it was not meaningful at all. That was a very interesting conversation. The another one was that where someone said that, hey, we have product metrics, business has their own metrics, but we just don't know how to connect them. We're coming up with some things, they're doing their own thing in their own world. And that's where this juxtapositioning became a central thing, that we have to figure out a way where the product team just doesn't know that what happens when product is in control, and when we give the control to the final outcome, what happened if that's the business outcome, right? If it's happening in different systems. Now, in B2C customers, usually it's confined within one application, but in enterprise, there are handovers from application to another application. Maybe the application which is capturing the lead will hand it over to other application which is processing the lead, will hand it over to another application that will, probably process the payment, will hand it over to another application where, some output will get generated, and that will hand over to someone else. Say, do you want to recommend few other people? And for the business, do you want to recommend few other people is the main outcome. But the product team which was doing the capture or the workflow which was gathering information have no idea, right? Because these two exist in different worlds. So that just a positioning of what the engineering team is doing to make things efficient and excellent, how does it relate to business, that kind of evolved from there. And finally, one thing that it kind of followed from there was that many teams said that we are far removed from user actions, from the final command. It's very difficult for us to draw a line and say that we introduce this capability and leading to faster lead time, and because of this 5 system down the lane, that business improved. Very difficult to figure out the causation. And that led to us investigating that, yes, there are ample evidence that causation cannot be done, but can there be correlation? And these were the 9 conversations that led to and as we talk more about EEBO metrics, and those who have heard about it will find the reasons of why we chose to do certain things. um, these problem statements, and when we chose that option and we shared it with the end user and they tried it as an experiment or full-fledged, it did show some benefit, and that's how we adopted it. And I think one of the key things that I do want to talk about at some point is the concept of fully modeled outcome metric. So such a 9 conversations, do you remember all of those?
I know two which I was not part of,
Yeah.
but the I could relate and kind of link the names of the people whom we spoke. One I think was overlap, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, they kind of were one leading to another,
Right,
but
right, right.
they did
So
happen in multiple conversations, so they deserve their
absolutely,
own list.
absolutely. The and this must be very easy for people to understand that even EEBO Rome was not built in a day. There were multiple foundational blocks, conversations which led us to think about it. There is also one history nugget which I would like to spill out
Mhm.
is The EEBO metric is something which came as a byproduct of Polaris, a tool which we created in the first place. We were thinking about building a dashboard, and the reason why we wanted to build dashboard was we were not happy with Hygia. Hygia is an open source software which is created by Capital One, and they had these extremely flexible. You can just like add any number of metrics, and there were a lot of connectors available. And we were told by somebody that, hey, this is a great software. Why don't you use it? And then we said, fantastic, let's use it. And the moment I stepped onto that software, I felt scared. Oh, A, it was having too many charts. B, there was a lot of data, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I consider myself a good techie. I could sense all these points which are present on the dashboard, but I did not know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So that led me to believe in this particular case, less is more,
Yeah.
and it is better that you have something which is actionable. And we built dashboard tool our own, which is inspired from Hygia, but it focused on juxtaposition and only handful of metrics.
Yeah.
Now, the tool was not our goal. Our goal was to get this thought process behind in the hands of people, because sometimes seeing is believing. You know, like if they see this is working, they know what to do with it. But eventually, we figured out the philosophy of that resonated so well with customers when we spoke to them. We decided that they deserve to stay individually as well.
Yeah.
Is like create the philosophy extraction in EEBO, and the reference implementation can be Polaris. So
Yeah.
that way you get to experience both. And
And
this also, yeah, this also
and a
allows
lot
us
of
to.
organizations have their similar tools also. I mean, tool
Oh
is
yeah,
just a tool, right? So
and we have been talking about it, right? It tool doesn't matter, what matters is measurements. So that also allowed us to share our philosophy with the people, and then like take it to the broader audience. So that's fantastic. There is one digression, as usual. I'm like, what will be a last week episode without digression? So I was recently, I'm very much interested in music making and composing. So Dinker, the one of the nuggets which I learned is a great music is when you cannot remove any more instrument or parts of that music. So that is the absolute minimum. And that particular thing struck with me is so their point was that when you are composing, you should have minimum set of layers or
mm,
instruments used to create a song which is retaining the impact which composer wanted. So if by removing the, let's say, piano, you lose the soul of the sound, or it doesn't sound right, then it deserves to be there. Similarly, I think periodically people should try to delete metrics from their
yeah.
dashboard until they feel, if I drop this, then I stop getting the minimum value which I wanted to get out of this. So there is no point in putting 30 metric and not using them at all, but having that psychological safety that I'm managing to 30 metrics. It's better to track 10 metric which you know exactly what to do with them, or 5.
To- Totally plus one on less is more, and get rid of a metrics, and only when you feel the need of it urgently,
Yes.
then only bring it back. Don't hold on. And then that's why EEBO metrics is also a very limited set, and very well thought of condensed set. So on that note, this was the origin story of
Yeah.
EEBO metrics. No one had to fly off or tear their shirts to reveal the superhero or super character inside. So, but that's the origin story.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. Bye.
Bye.